long time no see. Today I wanted to make a video refreshing your guys' memory on what happened up until now in both the Game of Thrones universe in the show and in the books. I was trying to refresh my memory before the show premiered, and I figured I might as well make a video on it. So if you've read up to books 4 and 5, you might have forgotten what's happened in the series compared to what's happened in the books, because D&D have changed a lot of stuff. So if you want to know what's happened in the books compared to what's happened in the series for a few major characters, this is the video for you. If you haven't read the books, but you're still a little curious as to who's where in the series compared to who's where in the books, carry on watching. Okay, so I'll be going by character just to keep everything straight. All of the characters that are on screen right now are the ones I'm going to be talking about. There's so many of them, and it would be a really long video if I went over all of them. So these are just the ones I'm going to be talking about today. Okay, hopefully this is helpful. Let's get started. So the first character I'm going to talk about is Jon Snow, and as far as we know, in both the show and the books, he has been stabbed by a member of the Night's Watch, and he is bleeding to death and or dead. We don't know for sure. I have lots of theories about it, but I'm not going to talk about it here today. We're going to keep talking about the Starks with Arya. So for Arya, the show storyline is behind compared to the book storyline. In the show, she's just been turned blind, and we're going to see what happens to her next in the House of Black and White. In the books, however, Arya has already regained her sight, and she has finally received an apprenticeship after completing her first assassination. So I'm pretty sure that the show is going to catch up to the books at this point. What's also interesting is I'm pretty sure in the books only, we know that Arya is a warg. She can see through her direwolf. I'm pretty sure that wasn't even mentioned in the show. It might be now that she's blind, but that's something to look for, because I think the only one we've seen as a warg is Bran. So it'll be interesting to see if they even go with the warg storyline at all. Bran! Let's talk about Bran. We haven't heard from him at all last season. They were saving him for this season, probably because the storyline of the show caught up to the storyline of the books. In both of them, we left him meeting the Three-Eyed Craven at the roots of the weirwood tree. So we don't know what's gonna happen with that. I'm actually really interested to see what they do with him. Moving on to Sansa. So in the books, Sansa is still in the Eyrie, and she's pretending to be Littlefinger's niece. Nothing has changed with that. But in the show, she's been replaced by a book storyline where there's a fake Arya, and she marries Ramsay Bolton, and this whole fiasco happens with the fake Arya, who's actually Jane Poole. They kind of got rid of that whole storyline and they put Sansa in their place, which I'm not a huge fan of. A lot of stuff has happened to Sansa in the show. She's been engaged to Ramsay, she's married him, she's been raped by him, basically kept prisoner by the Boltons in general. She found out Bran is alive, kind of, and she's finally escaped with Theon Greyjoy. We left her last jumping off the battle embankments and into the snow, and we know she's alive, so that's good at least. Speaking of Theon, his storyline doesn't really go anywhere. In the books, he helps Jane Poole, which is the fake Arya, escape. In the show, he's actually gotten a lot further. He's found Sansa, he's still Reek. He's gotten over the fact that he's Reek, and he's now escaped with Arya through the battlements. So they're in two very different, kind of similar, but different areas because they changed the storyline up, and it's a little confusing, but as long as you remember there is no fake Arya, you should be fine. Speaking of Sansa, she had a run-in with Brienne last season. Brienne's storyline's very different than in the books. For example, the last time we saw her, she's killing Stannis, beheading him for the murder of Renly Baratheon. In the books, Brienne is nowhere near Stannis. We don't know what happens to both of them in the books, but we know in the show that she got some vengeance. Speaking of Stannis, in the show, we know that he's dead, like I said, but we don't know what happened to him in the books. The last time we left him, he was on his way to Winterfell with his army, and his army got snowed in. Jon Snow got a letter from the Boltons saying that they killed him, but we don't really know if that's true. As we know with George R. R. Martin, nothing is ever as it seems. Moving on to Westeros, let's talk about Cersei. So in the books, we watched her go through her walk of shame. She was still imprisoned because she still hadn't answered for her other grievances, and Jaime isn't responding to any of her letters. She's basically alone. We don't really know what's gonna happen to her. In the show, we also watched her walk of shame, but they actually like Cersei, I guess, or they're terrified of her, one of the two, because they help her out and they give her a huge Kingsguard, like massive Kingsguard, to protect her. Where she's left in the books is a lot sadder state than where she's left in the show, let's just put it that way. The book Tyrion is very, very different than show Tyrion. They kind of jumbled up his storyline in the show. In the show, he is in Pentos, he goes to Volantis, he's kidnapped by Jorah Mormont. Jorah Mormont gets grayscale, he gets caught by slavers. He goes to a slave pit. Dany basically saw them in the fighting pits, trusted them, saved them from the fighting pit, saved them from a lifetime of slavery. And when she got carted off by Drogon at the end of the show, everyone left Tyrion and Viserys to run Meereen. In the books, we've seen Tyrion meet a character that we haven't seen yet in the show, which is Aegon Targaryen, which is Aerys' grandson, which means there's another Targaryen alive. That hasn't happened yet in the show. Tyrion does go to Pentos, he does get captured by Jorah Mormont, he does get captured by slavers, but instead of escaping with and meeting Dany in the fighting pits, it kind of accelerated that storyline. We know that he has escaped the slavers in exchange for working with the Second Sons. Let's talk about Marjorie for a second. She's basically in the same place in both the show and the books, but she's in a way more sorry state in the show. In the show, she's in jail, no hopes of getting out because she has given false testimony for her brother. In the books, she's been framed for committing adultery by Cersei. She went to jail, she got out of jail, and she's now under house arrest. Going back to the Lannisters, Book Jaime is fed up with Cersei, and he gets rid of all of her letters for help, does not answer them, ignores them completely. In the books, we last saw Jaime hearing from Brienne that Sansa is alive. Show Jaime goes to Dorne, he's jailed in Dorne, he's released from jail. He's told that as long as he doesn't take Myrcella away, everything will be fine. And then a sand snake kisses Myrcella on the lips with poison. And as she's sailing home on the ship, she dies. But she doesn't die before she hears Jaime tell her that he is indeed her father and that he has slept with his sister and she is a product of incest. She takes it very well, which is kind of strange. She at least knows who her father is before she dies. And then finally, I've saved the best for last. Let's talk about Dany for a second. Daenerys Targaryen has had such a journey. She's basically in the same place in both the show and the books. She has finally learned how to control Drogon. She is carted off to God knows where. She has been found by Khalasar, and in the books, it's the same ex-captain of her Khalasar that finds her. So that's all I've got for my catch-up of the books versus the show in Game of Thrones. And leave a comment if there's a character that's your favorite or what you want to see happen in the show. And basically, that's it. I'm really excited for the show. I hope you guys are too. And yeah, let me know if you want to see any more videos like this, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!